Yeah. So before we talk about a bit more about what we implemented here at HGM, it's probably worth stepping back and just doing a quick refresher on what we mean when we talk about the cloud. So traditionally, businesses have used physical servers, like Ed was talking about before. These are servers that are located or installed at your premises. The obligations are on the business to update, to upgrade, to deal with security. But the digital revolution has really created a shift away from ownership to services, and from the kind of physical and tangible to this concept of the cloud. And a big part of this is due to the huge leaps and bounds in processing speeds of computers and the increasing amount of stuff that these computers can do. Businesses want to keep up and avoid being disrupted by sort of agile innovators, but are also really reluctant to spend big money on infrastructure and platforms and software that may very quickly become obsolete. And that's sort of the issue that we were grappling with. And this is where these as-a-service providers come in. So they've really created a niche in plugging this hole for businesses. So the three key as-a-service solutions are infrastructure as a service, so that's your kind of Microsoft Azure or AWS, which is providing things like servers for storage that are off our premises and on their premises. And then you've got platforms as a service, which provides a platform for you to build on. And that's the things like Apple iOS, where they have the platform and then you can build your own sort of software on top of that. And then there's software as a service, which enables you to access software through the internet. And that's things like Xero and Slack. So a really useful analogy for thinking about as a platform solution, I think, is the pizza shop analogy. So on this side, you'll see the blue things are the things that you manage, and the green things are the things that the vendor manages. So if we're talking about a traditional on-premise deployment in terms of a pizza shop, you're essentially making that pizza at home, right? The kitchen, the gas, and the oven are all yours. It's your pizza dough, it's your toppings, you're cooking the pizza. If you move to an infrastructure as a service model, then the infrastructure, so the kitchen, gas, and oven, are provided by the vendor, and you bring along your pizza dough, your toppings, and you cook the pizza. So it's kind of kitchen as a service. And then if you look at platform as a service, so they're providing the infrastructure and they're providing the platform or the pizza dough, and you're providing the toppings and cooking the pizza. So it's kind of a walk in and do what you need to do to bake this pizza. The last one is software as a service, which is essentially a takeaway pizza, right? They're providing the infrastructure, they're providing the platform, and then they're also providing the software as a service or the sweet toppings. And that's essentially like going into a pizza store and with software as a service, because it is a one-to-many service. It's usually done in a way that you can kind of pick some of the toppings here and there, but really you're kind of choosing from a menu and you get what you're given, and it's kind of priced accordingly. So that's just a really quick overview of the different solutions, but hopefully a really useful way of thinking about it.
So what have we adopted? So we've adopted pretty much everything from the infrastructure as a service right through to software as a service. The infrastructure as a service component is basically having all of our software, and that's our practice management system, our document management system, and so storage accessible to us through virtual servers. So these servers are sitting in the cloud. So they're not, the software isn't software as a service. It's not like a one-to-many. It's actually, you think about our own instance of the software that is sitting at our virtual servers in Azure. Some of the problems that we had during the implementation were around the migration, because we were dealing with a practice management system which was kind of quite very dated, very 1990s. And so one of our main concerns was whether or not the software would work in Azure, because it wasn't obviously sitting in our server room. So we basically had to have it as what we call a published app. So it did kind of work. Well, it does work. We spent quite a lot of money making it work. But there was a bit of difficulty in having older software which wasn't really built for the cloud or being hosted in the cloud. So at the moment, we're looking for a new practice management system to kind of round out our roadmap. So in the last few years, we've got a sort of best of breed document management systems in terms of like iManage. We've got all of our Office products running well, and now it's just the practice management system, which we'll hopefully get rid of. So that's sort of the infrastructure as a service component of it. And then on a day-to-day basis, as lawyers, we have a lot of use of Office 365. So that's Outlook and Word, and obviously the PowerPoint presentation that you're looking at. That's all served up to us through Office 365. We have versions of that which are installed on everybody's laptops. But we're also able to access any of the Microsoft Office applications pretty much anywhere. As long as there's a browser somewhere, we can go into the browser and access any of the documents and edit them. We've also just recently kind of got Slack, which is the communications tool, up and running. We essentially had 2 or 3 days to do that, and this is all prior to lockdown number one. And like I said before, Slack was on our roadmap. It was really nice to have, and we were going to get to it. But lockdown accelerated the implementation of that. And thankfully, with software as a service, they're very easy to configure. And so I spent a week in configuring Slack, and it worked less right.
Yeah, it's been great actually. I think it's changed the dialogue of our business. Like we're all using emojis, and it's been wonderful.
It's what you say to me, so in terms of changing the culture, it's been quite amazing.
Yeah, it's been great.
And the other thing we did from a comms point of view, we changed when we moved from our old premises in Britomart to the Tower building, we changed our phone system. Again, that was sort of up for renewal in terms of our contract. So we decided, let's get away from the tried and tested, tethered to your desk type thing, phone line, and we tried voice over IP. We had looked at voice over IP about 5 years prior to that, but the cloud solutions were unreliable, and so we decided not to adopt that technology at the time. But our provider said to us that, or they assured us that voice over IP was working quite well, and so we basically changed to voice over IP system as part of the move. And what that has meant is that we can access our phone calls, our voice messages anywhere around the world. We can make phone calls using our computer, mobile phone, headset, anywhere. I've even, sort of through the trial period, I even tested it flying. With Air New Zealand, they are probably breaching all their rules, but they have, onboard Wi-Fi. So I sort of tested it on the plane just to make sure that it would work. And it did. We've also got Zoom video conferencing, and with our new offices, we've now got Zoom rooms and sort of dedicated boardroom conferencing, as well as Zoom video conferencing for meetings, and that's been accelerated due to lockdowns. Xero accounting software, which is fantastic, as well as HubSpot, which is for our CRM. So I think we've kind of achieved in quite a short period of time what we wanted, which was having everything accessible anywhere at any time. And I think we've kind of met the objective of having users using it, because I think through the change management process where we made people aware of what was happening, we got people involved, and we told them this is the change that's going to happen. I think people have kind of taken it on board. So some of the benefits and features that we are seeing, and which you will probably see as well if you're kind of going into a cloud-based solution, is that there is that flexibility. We can scale up or down our cloud capacity easily. So we've got growth in the terms of number of people, as well as clients, and the amount of data that we store. So as a law firm, we have to store pretty much everything that comes in. So storage is always going up like that. It's never sort of going down, because we're never deleting anything. And so we need to be able to increase our storage capacity, which we can easily do just by dialing it up or down through the Azure platform. Our backup and disaster recovery, which I've talked about, is now taken care of, and we have automatic updates of our servers. They are now off premise, out of sight, and the suppliers take care of that for us, which is fantastic. We don't have to have people coming in and out of the building doing that for us. It's a pay-as-you-go service, so it cuts out the high cost of hardware. And I think that was one of the huge costs, like I mentioned before. It was about $120,000 to buy the hardware and the implementation of it. I mentioned that I think the monthly cost for implementing the hardware and buying the hardware was about $8,500 per month, financed over say 48 months. But if we now that we've gone to the cloud, it's around $7,500. So we've basically saved $1,000 a month, but also we don't need to have that high cost of hardware acquisition costs later on, because we don't need to buy any hardware. It also offers flexible working, so productivity doesn't take a hit. So if Lisa wants to go to an appointment and doesn't want to sit in the traffic, she doesn't have to come to work. She can basically work from home. So productivity hasn't taken a hit. It was really good during lockdown. The systems worked. The only I think the only issue that we had was that with lockdown, and a lot of you will have experienced it, is that there's just no demarcation between work and home life. So because things just work, people just keep working. I think that's quite a bad thing from not having that balance, I suppose. But also, it's given us the improved IT security. So we can access our data if a user's computer is stolen, lost, or damaged. And if it is lost or stolen, we can kind of wipe the data from the devices just by hitting the white button.